Karen.
Pink eye?
Pink eye, that's it. That's the one. I knew there was something eye going on. Okay, so as promised, this is the end of your little gamification. So if you look at the screen here, it was pretty much down to the wire, and Jacob, you actually made the difference.
Well, we were up last time I checked before the heat did.
So, but when you, depending on which one you went on, right, they got points for that as well. So it works two ways. So actually, the winning team was the red team. Who moved it? Oh, that's
No
we didn't win. Let's go. So, but I don't want you all to feel bad. So everybody gets a little Tim donut, but the winning team, which goes really well with the tea, or the coffee, whatever you got. So this is just for competing and making such a close competition. And Kaylin, unfortunately, she got pink eye and didn't do her last form entry. And depending on which one she did, she could have affected the outcome.
Oh.
And she's not here today, so I'm recording this for her. But don't want you to feel guilty, but you know, that anatomy stuff is really getting you down. We all feel your pain, but you know, the red team in particular feels good about it. So, Brooke, glad you could join us. Now, don't forget to catch up on the ones you missed, right? All the videos are there from the classes you missed. Brooke, did you get that?
Yeah, got it.
Good. Do not want to be mean to you, but I have to. And then, the winning team, did I come up? That'd be Wes, Ethan, Lacey, Maria, and Jada.
I thought you can add extra points.
Come on. You dig into my bag of goodies, straight in, no feeling, get and grab. There we go. In and grab. Oh. No looking.
What is it?
Oh, there you go.
I got lips too.
Oh, I'm on lips.
Yeah.
There's a string.
Oh, yeah. And where's Jada? Oh, Jada's missing?
Jada is sick.
Sick?
Sickly in bed still.
Okay. All right, so thank you for the competition. That was the example of gamification. The notion, can you tell me what does this do in a class? I mean, I did this with you, said this with kids as well.
Gamification,
Yeah.
it increases the likelihood of students wanting to participate.
Good. Well, what do the numbers do that I got you to self-assess other people? What am I doing with that?
Grading.
It's a grading, right? It's not grading that matters in the colonial system of your mark. It's grading that matters as feedback to your peer. And I'm creating a little sense of putting it on the line, that you're not just passing, you're trying to do a bit more. So that's why the 1, 2, 3 encourages you. And from my mind, the more visual and text you combine, the better. But now you're realizing as you come to your portfolio, it looks so much better when I can cut and paste something that has a visual, a video, and text as evidence. So I was also trying to build that in. This is the idea of the assessment. So then you can then draw on something that looks richer than just a set of text as form of evidence. And the other part is it keeps you in touch with your peers. If you're not doing stuff, what's going on? And you can also say that, Adam, that was a great post. You can use that as evidence, right? Look how many people responded on that one, right? So you can then say, Adam, I wonder what I did there that really got people interested. You know, that's something as evidence for something to think about. Why did somebody go engage in my thread? And also for Adam that he responded. So that's why he got more little numbers there because people responded. And then the same thing over here, if I look on it, right? Brooke, you had a lot of people responding on yours. You didn't respond to them, but if you did, you would have got more there as well. But you really got them responding, right? So the opening one was really good. But as feedback to yourself, thinking, cognitive skill, maybe if I just done a little bit more, that might encourage a bit. So that's your thinking. As a teacher, how do I get students helping each other learn, right? And that's the goal of that gamification. It changes it from me to giving you a feedback mechanism that encourages you to do something to help the rest learn. Is that good? As an understanding of a practice on why I did it? Okay, so today Maria is doing her extension. This has been an interesting process for her because
What is it ever?
I had no idea what she was going to do, so I had to try and help shape it with her, as I had no idea what it would look like. So this is an experiment, but it also, I'm realizing, it connects very well to Brooks and Adam's thread, which was very much on the EDID and Indigenous ways of knowing things, that you're all trying to explore with, and what we did on the board here, we were trying to compare what schools tend to focus on and how we're trying to shift as we take on TRC. So Maria's going to try to play around with a concept she's come across that she thinks it will help you, but also me in the future, because if it works and you help her create something that's really useful, I can use it next year. That's the other goal. All right? So Maria, over to you. Your presentation's here, Maria, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's why you need this. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
you said that new.
Okay. Hi, I'm Maria, y'all know. So my extension project was on two-eyed seeing, which is a project that I've been kind of fighting with back and forth throughout the semester because it's a bit of a complex concept, and I just want to do a little preface that the stuff that I'm covering in my presentation is not all of what two-eyed seeing is and all the Indigenous concept. There's so much more that I could cover. This is as much as I could do in a short period of time. So I'll just start with a quick overview. I'm gonna give you all the definition of what is two-eyed seeing, and then we're gonna do a quick little survey where I'm gonna kind of gauge and see if people, once they've heard the definition, have a understanding of what two-eyed seeing is. And then there's gonna be a bunch of scenarios where each of the scenarios have a solution, and you're gonna scale them on a range from 1 to 5, where 1 is like it's completely opposite of what two-eyed seeing is, and 5 is completely aligned with it. And then we'll go through the Indigenous views versus the Western views, and how they compare to one another, what is colonization, an example timeline of something I did on residential schools, just to give you guys an oversight of what it looked like, and then applications of two-eyed seeing and PHE, and then we'll do a final survey where you'll grab a partner and you'll be able to give solutions to a scenario that align with the principles of two-eyed seeing. Okay? So, what does two-eyed seeing really mean? It was coined by a Mi'kmaq elder, Albert Marshall, and it's the idea that individuals who practice two-eyed seeing are able to view the world through both an Indigenous, which is like your Indigenous eye, and your Western eye, and you're acknowledging and valuing the strengths and contributions of each perspective in all of the things that you do. It encourages people to appreciate and learn from the knowledge and wisdom embedded in Indigenous traditions, while also recognizing the insights provided by Western scientific and academic approaches, which we all have experienced in our academic careers. In addition, the concept encourages integration of diverse ways of knowing and understanding the world, recognizing the importance of cultural diversity and the unique perspectives that different knowledge systems bring to the table. It's about finding common ground and really building relationships based off different worldviews it's kind of like a bridge between Indigenous knowledge as well as Western knowledge. So I'll get you all to scan this QR code. It'll take you to a survey, and I'll just quickly walk you through it. Let me know if it's not working. If it is, well, let me know. It should take you to a Google form called Two-Eyed Seeing Survey 1. Can people see that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, amazing. So just go through and answer the multiple choice question at the beginning. and go through each of the scenarios and rank them on a scale from 1 to 5. If you have any clarification questions, please feel free to ask me. So I'll give you guys a moment to do that.
Or class, same thing.
Class, sorry.
Every time?
I think we're just waiting on like.
But finishing first, Jacob, you can have another one. Well, there was a little revision before, but okay.
Cool. I think we're good. Is everybody done the survey? Numbers okay? Yes. So it looks like it's pretty 50-50 split. Most people said yes to understanding or know about it. Some are unsure, and some people said no. Fine. It's not a hugely prevalent concept, to be honest. I haven't really heard about this since this semester. So, okay. For the scenarios, some of them were really obvious and what were not aligned, and some were like aligned. But the premise of it was like have some that are like glaringly obvious and that we face in our day-to-day lives. Like I know that the PE class scenario where you're splitting up kids, I literally had that while I was teaching. I was looking at a kid on its own and I was being like, okay, what do I do now? So some of them are gray areas, some of them are more obvious. So I like those ones. Okay, so we'll go ahead and I'm trying to run over what Indigenous versus Western views are like. So Indigenous views as a whole are very holistic, very interconnected, like everything is connected, which is like what you do now will have either a great impact or a small impact. It will have an impact on what you're doing in the future. So Indigenous views are interconnected with the land and the nature. So we all know that when we did Tim Hopper's Plant Bingo, the plants all had different names, different meanings in the Indigenous languages, and they all were connected with one another and some beliefs that they had. Whereas Western views, we view nature and the land around us as a resource for human benefit. Everything that we use is to benefit us and us only, and we have only started to give back, but it's not anywhere close to what Indigenous views have brought. So another thing is holistic approach. They believe that all the aspects of life are interconnected with one another, whereas we have a more specific approach. Everything is broken down into small parts and be more manageable. I have a science background, so everything has to be broken down into small little bits, like everything's compartmentalized, everything has to be species, not everything is connected with one another. In presence of time, continuity and interconnectedness of the past, present, and future, they're all interwoven within one another. We have a linear view, whereas progress is only a linear path. If you're only progressing if you're going forward. If you're going backwards and you're making changes, you're not progressing, is what a Western view is. Whereas Indigenous views is like, you're going back, you're still working, you're still progressing. If you're going forward, you're still working, you're still progressing. Community and collective well-being is of utmost importance. Decisions are made as a collective, and individuals are there to benefit others. We are all about, I'm the best, you're the worst. Basically, I want to be better than you, and you. Right? It's not, I don't want to help you, I want to get better than all of you guys. That's what a Western view is. And spirituality is like a thing of daily life, and the natural world around them interconnects with spiritual aspects. They have spirituality in the nature around them, and the animals, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas in a Western view, religion and spirituality are their own domain. Like, religion people believe in a higher being that's separate from the world around you. There's very rarely an interconnectedness with it, with most religions. Some of them are different, but yeah. So it's basically, Indigenous is all interwoven with everything, whereas Western views is just very linear, set, individualistic, which is not great. So what is colonialism? We've heard this term a million times. But do we actually really know what it is? It refers to the historical and ongoing impacts of the Western peoples on Indigenous people and their lands. It specifically addresses the experience of the Indigenous communities that have been subjected to colonization by external powers, often resulting in the disruption of traditional ways of life, cultural practices, and socio-political structures. So we, as Westerners, my parents are immigrants, we came in, we disrupted the Indigenous way of life. The ways that we have done this, and still do it to this day, residential schools is the top one there. That's one of the many horrors that we made Indigenous people experience. Tortured them, we traumatized them, we did all sorts of stuff like that to them in those residential schools for what? To make them like us? It really made no sense. Loss of autonomy, we stripped them of their rights, we stripped them of their beliefs, their cultures, all of that kind of stuff that made them who they were, just to assimilate them into our views and what we wanted to do. Violence and exploitation. Domestic violence within Indigenous communities and outside of Indigenous communities is exponentially growing, where women, teenagers, and children are some of the biggest groups in the Indigenous population that experience domestic violence every single day. Cultural suppression. We all have our cultures, we all have our backgrounds. We are able, as Westerners, to express those openly. Indigenous people are not, which is really sad. They're not able to express their art forms. Their languages are lost. Like, most of their languages are lost, which is really sad. Land dispossession. We give acknowledgement to the land that we're on for every class, but do we really mean it? Like, we took them off their land, like, you know? And intergenerational trauma. We literally changed the epigenetics of their like gene makeup, so that kids of parents who have gone to residential schools or experienced the trauma that we put them through literally have a genetic change in their makeup that have led to intergenerational trauma, which is insane. So this is just one example of a timeline. I chose residential schools because it's mainly because the last residential school closed in 1996, which is bonkers to me. It's that it was open for that long for people to just be like, oh, this is fine, when it's not fine at all. So we had first contact. The European settlers arrived in Canada and were welcomed by the Indigenous. We were welcomed by the Indigenous people with open arms. They were like, here, we can teach you all these things, and we took that for granted. We literally just went, okay, give me, bye-bye, which was not what we should have done at all. In 1831, the first ever residential school run by the Catholic Church was opened, which we all know was normal. And then the Indian Act is established, where they're stripping all Indigenous people of their rights. Again, I talked about the loss of autonomy, all that kind of stuff that was, we basically treated Indigenous people like rocks. They didn't have any rights, they didn't have any values, they didn't have any belief, they were not that great. Again, the last residential school in Canada was shut down in 1996, and today, Indigenous people still face discrimination, racism, and colonialism every single day by us Westerners. So, overall, two-eyed seeing is how we can incorporate both Indigenous views that I have gone through back here and Western views and put them as a whole, because we are still able to have our Western views, but we can also have the Indigenous views. In fact, the Indigenous views would make us better humans, because that way we're kind of thankful and grateful for what we're provided with in our environment, as well as not taking everything for granted. I, for one, am a person that took a lot of things for granted, and going into PhD, it's kind of eye-opening that it's like, I didn't know a lot of stuff about interconnectedness, and I solely aligned myself with Western views. But now that I've taken this course, for example, I'm able to align myself with more Indigenous views and kind of be grateful for what I have around me, right? So, a way that we can apply this to public health and education is we can honor how every aspect of the world is connected, despite how insignificant it may seem. So no matter how small or how large the problem that you're dealing with, or the thing that you're dealing with, it's connected. Something that you do now might impact you later. We need to acknowledge the values of both Western and Indigenous practices in every class. Western, we already do it in our day-to-day, but Indigenous, we can now do a more meaningful territory acknowledgement. We can use languages and keywords like we have in our classes. Dr. Hopper has done like his plant bingo, and he's also brought our Indigenous words for describing different beliefs and all that kind of stuff. So we can include that in our lesson plans as we go on as educators. And then when faced with issues, we should apply this concept that allows to find a balanced solution where you're both honoring Indigenous views as well as Western views. So instead of keeping the linear path of Westernized views, use Indigenous ways of connectedness, continuity, and community that allow us to build a more diverse and expansive learning environment where everybody can grow and learn, and it's not just like you grow and you stay down there, right? So, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to get at with two-eyed seeing. Like I said, it's a very complex concept, and I barely even scratched the surface. But I hope you guys learned and have a better understanding of what two-eyed seeing is and how we can apply it to public health education. So now what I'll do is we'll have our second survey. So what I'll do is once you guys scan the QR code, I want you guys to find a partner that you haven't worked with before.
You're going to assign people to partners.
I'll assign them?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So,
You tell people where to go.
I'll start off with you. You can go work with Brooke. Cass, you can work with Jacob. Macy, you can work with Steven. Jacob, you can work with Adam. Allison, you can work with Wes. Ryan, you can work with Andre. I think that should be everybody. Yeah.
I'm the one
Are
left
we
out.
finishing the survey before the partner group stuff?
No, so I'll explain now. So you'll do the survey with your partner, where you're gonna answer these scenarios and kind of try to apply the concepts that we just learned with PAG. And see if you can find a solution that really aligns with both principles of Indigenous knowledge and Western education. Yeah.
You need a system where they're going to record what they have done. You're going to get them to record what you take it in and come up with. Remember that instruction? Get something you're going to get them to write on that you're going to get feedback from doing your activity.
Okay, sure. Well, we can have a presentation at the end of it, no?
Okay. So that was the thing I wanted you to do, to get something from them written down, written in the activity. So maybe we'll try and record it. So they're going to report something back to you.
Well, they're answering in a short answer. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I don't think I'm understanding.
Are we both filling out the survey or?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you guys can, one person can fill out the survey, but you guys both want to collaborate on the solution. So, I'll probably get like half of the class.
So what's the instruction? Take that to me.
We're supposed to work with our partners.
So what's your answer?
Well, so we're just reading, we just opened it up.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, what are you going to do?
Well, it says you're in charge of designing a sport tournament for the PE department of the school. How do you design? How do you design?
Decent thing that limits like how much you earlier where it's like the best of that makes it like that scoring chart where it makes it more even. I was gonna try and get more points you have to hold.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. I only want to make sure it was working for you. So what I wanted to do was to get you to write them now.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, but if you do that, then it's like how could you change this to make it into more 2IC? Yeah. So that's what you're saying. I think that's a great answer. Write it down. Yeah, nice work. Yeah. Okay, nice working.
It's working?
There wasn't
Yeah, we're
showing you the yeah.
Are you guys, good? Do you have any questions? Just one person can answer it, but you guys want to like bounce solutions off each other. Okay, because it's
Point split.
So
It's not the bottom. Work your way out.
Do the guys like? Make a roster. That's the next question because there's
Someone write it down. That's good. Then go through the process. It's all done. So just set something as well.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Is that wrong? Just work on it, and then they're not report it back and share.
Yes.
or pre-recorded message.
Make sure the principal make sure they move on.
Because the principal can like approve.
Okay, this is good. This is working.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. We were communicating last night, like midnight. I was trying to. I wanted to. Election.
Less of a whatever that.
That's
approach
a
is.
Western way of doing it, more Indigenous way. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is.
But yours is usually great for the tournament.
yeah.
And what you do is when you make the system such that the rules are established
Yeah.
that make it close, you get this interaction that's so different to our Western way of one winner and lots of losers. Because everybody's winning at some point. Right? And then you have to figure out how the modification to the game structure causes you to play. Which
Yeah.
means you get more technically sophisticated. You have to think about it differently.
Yeah,
So you're winning, right?
exactly. For the next one, are you gonna say join the game?
I was gonna say get them in a circle and get them all to pass with like 3 or 4 different balls. That way they're all doing it together. Holistically.
Which one do you go for?
make them pass one part and then like shimmy down the line.
Yeah.
And do like a zero passes the same person twice kind of thing.
I actually have no idea. Either like it's the science like read the whole group, or you can just make like the games. The game is really more.
So that took so long to get to.
Taking control.
I know, it's a tough one. That one's like a huge gray area, but we'll try and come out with what we can.
You got some we're cooking basically.
Yeah? You
Yeah,
cooking?
Tim's
Amazing.
Hopper. Tim's happy. Tim's not Tim Hopper.
So part of it is promoting interaction, which is Indian, right? Whereas in Western, we tend to stick with teaching.
How do you fix your
So that's
issue?
that.
I feel like
How do I get it? So 1 minute.
Another extension.
So we'll take another minute and a half here, and then I'll get you to submit your responses, and then we'll go through it, kind of have a discussion and see how it aligns with each of the principles. All right? Is it possible that I could show on your laptop the responses of the Google form?
Yeah. You log into your account.
You have access to the form for the tuition committee.
What do you got? Come on, what have you got for that?
If they explained what they did, how they did it, and then you can see it. Right, it's in the description.
I think you do it in a different way.
That's what I just said, like, I'm sure you're wearing it another way. Essentially, it's like not necessarily great at what they do, but
Collectively,
Their
they're
grade is 1%.
There's hierarchy of much. So
That other question.
how do we take on hierarchies that kids are like just absorbing in that society around? I mean, you just need to pass it to your example, right? Can these people all-time grades either present at low? So now you present and say, okay, if you want to become a GP, take 10 years and the same salary as a PE teacher who's got a master's at second. So what are we, what's the hierarchy? It's about passion. It's about
Okay, last little bit here. So if you haven't submitted, try to get submitted in the next 30 seconds or so.
So
Please.
trying to
Would you say something else?
see things and this is what
to need to like discuss their other passions, but at the end of the day, it's their decision.
we live.
Not just follow their passion.
We need to change how we serve the community. How to get that. Makes sense? So what he's getting at is the hierarchies that are just infused. But don't blame the world. I didn't feel it. Thank you, passion. If you follow your passion.
Thank you.
It's a long story. By that hierarchy. That we play to tend to still come one cook. So good? Yeah. Ready to talk?
Sorry, everyone's waiting
During my presentation.
That should be
Caleb should be soft.
No, she just did it.
all of us sold for Kayla.
Okay.
All right, yes.
Everybody good? Everybody submitted? At least one copy? Amazing. Thank you. So, great to see y'all understand it a little bit better, which is nice. Some ABs, which is fair, okay, complex subject. Not expecting everybody to understand everything. So, cool. So So let's go through some of the scenarios. Here's.
So rather than get through, just get some responses because you've got 1 minute because we're not going to go on for a whole hour here.
So let's do this one because it's quite a little bit of a gray area. So you're approaching the principal of your school about bringing an elder, and to speak kids in your classroom. Principal denies your request because the elder has a criminal record, sovereign land defense demonstrations. So how do you face this issue? So, who did the first one? The first response. Explain to the principal why it's important to have a positive impact you can have on the kids. Who did that one? Yeah? Do you want to kind of give your thought process of,
Well, like why I answered
Yeah.
it by saying explain to the principal why it's important husband and on the kids.
yeah.
Well, Ryan and I were talking about how it seems like the principal isn't thinking very critically about the situation and like seeing the intricacies
Yeah.
of how that situation may have played out to why he has that criminal record and maybe and we said that it had kind of an impact on the kids because he's the person's obviously like dealt with a lot of adversity and that's why he's had a criminal record. It's not like anyone who gets a criminal record like can't like you need to see why the criminal record happened and everything. So
Right.
that's what we thought it would have a good impact on the kids.
So just to add to the principal is operating under district policy and can't have a personal criminal record check coming to school unless every parent has signed a waiver saying it's okay.
So maybe like get the like communicate with the parents and see
Yeah.
if like they're comfortable with it. And hopefully they are because they should be.
Yeah, you want to have like a bit more open discussion and anything like that. So, we'll just do.
So we're just going to do one more now.
One more.
Yeah, like, but just open up to the group. Just ask for their feedback, Maria. Thoughts of what they got from doing it.
Let's do feedback. What do you guys think of the scenarios? What could I have done better? What was good? What did you think? Do you think that the scenarios that I made aligned or were good scenarios to align with the principles of 2IC? What would you like to see a bit more? Give me feedback.
I like the last question. I think it was like where you're in the teacher's lounge or something and someone's talking bad about the Truth and Reconciliation Day because I think that is like very much something that like all of us will run into and it's like one of those situations where it's not like this one where it's like about policy and stuff like that. Like that one's very like personal opinion, but also like that personal opinion can be like broadcasted to your kids in the wrong way. So I liked that example.
Cool. Anybody else? Yeah.
I thought that your questions were really like thought-provoking. We had a really good conversation about the question that was talking about the kid who wants to be a PE teacher, but he got bullied. And we were like, it's kind of hard. Like, we just tell him, like, you know, normally it's just like, stop bullying this kid, blah, blah, blah. And that's like very Western view.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to like kind of break down all these years of like colonizing learning that we've gone through.
Yeah.
And then to kind of think in like the more indigenous way and be like, no, you need to follow your passion. And in the long run, like you're gonna be doing something and you'll probably end up having the same pay grade and you'll be doing something that you love. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we've all, I don't want to assume, but I feel like all of us have been brought up in mainly Western views. Like I didn't start learning about Indigenous knowledge until, I want to say maybe high school. In elementary school, I was completely oblivious to that. And now that it's more prevalent in elementary schools and from kindergarten or even preschool, we're able to kind of teach them these ways when they're younger and when they're more cognitive and just able to understand it from a younger age, and as they progress it'll be better to build on. So yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Macy there that like, you know, the thought provoking was like really good because I could even agree with like the question of like friends being like, oh, like you're in PHE, like what is that, like an easy GPA booster?
Yeah,
Or like
yeah.
I told them going to like pickleball class, they're like, pickleball class? Or and I'm like, hey, like don't worry about it.
It's hard.
It is hard.
It is
I'm like,
hard.
and then I tell them, oh, try taking 1 for 1, and then they shut up. But anyway, no, I think it was just really good. I think like in relation to obviously PHE, yes, this is the degree that we're in, but like
Yeah.
the relation was really key, and I think that the questions were very centered around things that we will have to focus on.
For sure. Yeah, 100%.
So one thing I got from all of you there responding, Marie, is the activity that they did is the most important thing. So in a 40-minute session, it was meant to take 20. What would you have changed to make sure the activity was the first thing that was done?
Probably done the activity first.
I think that's what really worked,
Yeah.
right? So all you're talking before, it was a very Western, telling us stuff,
Okay.
and then this was a very much more indigenous,
Mm-hmm.
unpacking it, and then think how you might want to use the Western with that. So I'm just giving you a feedback to think, how would I redo this to get away from what we tend to want to do is
Yeah.
tell people stuff? And I do that all the time. Then I have to always keep thinking, what do I do to shift this? What really worked? What will Steve remember, right? From the class, it's more that conversation with Marcy where oh yeah, I didn't think of it that way. That's what people retain. They won't retain anything you give them a lecture that is like we do it for a test, right? So you have to think it available. What will be great now is Maria's going to put this together and give you resources, and I think you'll use the resources, and then you'd read a lot of the stuff you said at the beginning. So think about, that's how, I'm always thinking my teaching, right? I didn't come to TGFU, play, practice, play at the beginning of my career. It's come over time, right? Because I can just lecture and lecture and lecture, but no one really learns.
And I'm sorry if like me standing up here and
No.
lecture-
This is a learning process. You're just
Yeah.
offering an insight, because we all do that, and that's what we are learning to shift as we try to do your two-wide seeing. How would I do it this way? Western, I do it this way. Indigenous, I do it this way. Oh, now which will be the better combination? That's what you're leaving people with.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that good?
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.